Have you ever wondered why, despite all your effort and best intentions, results always seem to slip through your fingers? There is an invisible current guiding our decisions and shaping our reality without our awareness, a set of internal laws that, when neglected, make every step toward success feel like 2 steps back. Right now, I invite you to pause the whirlwind of thoughts and look closely at what happens deep within your mind, for that is where the key to transforming your journey lies. Over the next 30 minutes, we will unveil these hidden laws, examining how silent beliefs and unconscious habits can sabotage any attempt at progress. This is not about empty promises, but a path grounded in practice, in science, and in the wisdom of Tracy, so that you can redefine your relationship with effort, discipline, and motivation. Each insight will be a lamp lit inside you, ready to illuminate what once remained in the shadows. Before we move on, close your eyes for a moment and imagine what it would be like to live aligned with these laws: a focused mind, a body in action, and the firm conviction that every small act, performed consciously, will inexorably carry you to where you have always dreamed of arriving. Allow this journey of self-discovery to lead you to a new way of thinking, feeling, and acting, for it is from this turning point that you will begin to build the success you truly deserve. The heart of every great achievement lies in almost imperceptible force operating in the shadows of our thoughts, shaping every gesture before we are even aware of it. This force, the invisible law that sabotages our success, is what I want to bring to light in this first chapter. Imagine trying to swim against a current you cannot see. You exert yourself, move your arms with all your will, but feel an inexplicable fatigue pushing you back. Such is the action of this hidden law, nourished by limiting beliefs and ingrained habits, silently corroding the energy you devote to your dreams. These beliefs often arise in moments of failure, replaying in your mind phrases you heard and accepted. Without question, you are not capable. This is not for you. It's not worth trying again. Over time, they transform into automatic scripts, steering your decisions like an invisible pilot. You may scale mountains of knowledge, but as long as you keep that inner voice doubting your competence behind the scenes, every achievement will always feel insufficient. Recognizing this sabotage is like shining a flashlight down a dark corridor. Suddenly, everything that blocked your path becomes clear, and you can choose to free yourself. The good news, however, is that by revealing this invisible law, you also gain the power to change it. The process begins with careful observation of your own thoughts, noting the repeated phrases that arise when the challenge intensifies. Noticing these voices is not an act of weakness, but of courage. It is admitting that, until now, you have been operating under old programming, and that now you are ready to rewrite it. This awakening, though uncomfortable, makes room for a new internal dialogue, based on questions that encourage action rather than paralysis. Finally, once you have identified the invisible law, change happens in the everyday through small conscious actions. Each time you decide to confront a limiting thought and replace it with an affirmation of possibility, not as a simple memorized phrase, but as a genuine reminder of your own worth, you weaken the power of that inner sabotage. By persisting in this process of observation and substitution, you create a new mental pattern, a favorable current that begins to push your efforts in the right direction. At this point, understanding the invisible law ceases to be merely an intellectual concept and becomes the practical foundation of every high-performance journey. How does dopamine really affect your discipline? Within each of us is a powerful chemical messenger called dopamine, which acts as an immediate reward and a soldier of motivation. Yet much of what we hear about this molecule is simplistic or misleading. We believe we need more of it to maintain focus, when in reality, our brain is programmed to seek instant gratification and, once it finds it, abandons long-term effort. Imagine that every time you choose the easy route, a quick video instead of a paragraph of study, a sugary snack instead of a nutritious meal, you are feeding a neurochemical cycle that weakens your determination. For decades, the idea has been repeated that raising dopamine levels means increasing our productivity, but what few realize is that this momentary spike can become a villain. The more you turn to easy stimuli, the more your brain demands ever greater rewards to feel pleasure, and the less it values disciplined effort. This phenomenon is like a muscle that weakens when not challenged. The more shortcuts you take, the more your capacity to sustain attention falls to pieces. The key to reversing this process lies in learning to redirect dopamine strategically, not by chasing peaks of pleasure, but by celebrating them at the end of genuine achievements. Instead of giving in to the immediate impulse, you can create small milestones of progress, such as the genuine pleasure of finishing the first page of a challenging book or completing that report ahead of schedule, and consciously note each victory. This act of recording success slows the cycle of instant gratification and rekindles the reward circuit through real results, strengthening the link between action and lasting satisfaction. Turn this understanding into practice. Begin to observe the moments when your mind screams for distraction. Instead of succumbing, take a deep breath, acknowledge the urge, and steer your focus back to a concrete task, however simple. Each time you choose to resist the easy impulse and complete a small deliberate action, your brain engraves a new pattern: discipline as a source of true pleasure. Over time, this neurochemical reprogramming will cause the pleasure of moving toward a goal to outweigh the ephemeral pleasure of temptations, creating a powerful virtuous cycle that is in the sum of these small decisions, made repeatedly, that the law of discipline overcomes the myth of instant gratification. By consciously appropriating the workings of dopamine, you stop being a hostage to impulses and become the architect of your own motivation. From this deep understanding, your discipline ceases to be an act of exceptional willpower and becomes the natural choice of someone who comprehends the science behind success. There is deep wisdom in the idea that true growth does not spring from the comfort zone, but from the conscious confrontation with discomfort. Jordan Peterson describes this principle as the deliberate pursuit of challenges that force our mind and character to toughen, much like steel that only withstands intense heat. When you choose to embrace small sacrifices, waking up earlier, taking on intimidating responsibilities, facing difficult conversations, you are building a solid foundation of resilience. This voluntary exposure to discomfort creates an inner order that serves as the cornerstone for every greater goal you dare to pursue. Contrary to what many believe, suffering is not merely a burden to be avoided, but a tool for refinement when chosen consciously. Every task that demands personal sacrifice, however insignificant it may seem, is an intentional step toward a stronger self, better prepared to face life's uncertainties. Imagine, for example, the simple decision to keep your workspace organized at the end of each day. This small act, when repeated, is an exercise in discipline and self-control, two central elements in Peterson's philosophy. By internalizing this habit, you are signaling to your brain that you value order, and that message reverberates across all areas of your life. Voluntary resistance also shapes our sense of purpose. By facing challenges that match your skill level, neither so easy that they become boring, nor so difficult they seem insurmountable, you discover an optimal growth zone. It is there that the mind flourishes, feeling the urgency to learn, adapt, and overcome. Peterson likens this state to a dynamic flow where we are constantly tested and, by passing these tests, receive confirmation of our competence, reinforcing the confidence to undertake even greater battles. Incorporating the paradox of voluntary suffering requires intention. Ask yourself, which small, healthy discomforts can I accept today to forge my character? Whether it's an honest dialogue with a colleague, a task you avoid, or the commitment to study a challenging subject, each conscious choice of discomfort is an investment in the solidity of your mind. Over time, these voluntary acts of order and sacrifice not only strengthen your discipline, but create an identity of someone who does not flee from challenge, a person who finds purpose in their own capacity to overcome. Thus, the law of order, through voluntary suffering, turns the act of resisting into a positive habit, elevating discipline beyond a mere routine to a guiding principle of life. By embracing this philosophy, you discover that what once seemed punitive transforms into a pattern of internal fortification, and that true freedom lies in the conscious choice to face what many prefer to ignore. The power of micro-habits lies in their almost subversive simplicity. They are actions so small they seem irrelevant at first glance, yet carry within them the necessary impulse to break initial inertia. Instead of attempting to climb a mountain all at once, you take a secure little step on firm ground, consciously repeated until it becomes natural. By choosing to read a single page of a challenging book, perform one squat, or write just one sentence of a personal project, you meet the one requirement that truly matters for a new habit to emerge: starting. And it is this act of starting, no matter how small, that activates the achievement circuit in your brain, creating an expectation of success that grows with each repetition. Each micro-habit must anchor to a trigger already present in your routine, leveraging the natural flow of your day. For example, after brushing your teeth in the morning, you sit for 2 minutes to review your daily goals. After lunch, you rise to walk for just 5 minutes. These small commitments, when linked to established habits, become automatic before you even notice. The beauty of this method lies in its scalability. Once the minimal action is consolidated, you gradually increase or extend the habit until it reaches the planned dimension, never provoking the drastic resistance that typically derails more ambitious proposals. In practice, consistency replaces intensity. By maintaining a daily commitment to execute a microscopic act, you demonstrate to yourself that you are capable of keeping your word, reinforcing the self-image of someone disciplined and committed. This internal message resonates across all other areas of your life, as each successful micro-habit is a brick laid in the construction of a mental structure capable of supporting larger undertakings. Over time, your brain begins to anticipate the pleasure of fulfilling the commitment, releasing dopamine at the right moments and solidifying the connection between action and real reward. The secret, then, lies in keeping a simple record of your daily victories, no matter how tiny they seem. Jotting down in a notebook or app that you completed the planned task creates a visible trail of progress, fueling a positive cycle of motivation and confidence. Looking back and seeing how many bricks you have already laid makes any large goal seem less intimidating. Moreover, the habit of celebrating small achievements teaches your brain to value the process, not just the final result, a crucial element for sustaining discipline over weeks and months. Finally, building discipline through micro-habits is not a momentary trick, but a strategy aligned with neuroscience and Brian Tracy's principles. Each small action, repeated with purpose and noting its impact, feeds a virtuous cycle that transforms discipline into an unshakable habit. And it is precisely this discreet, yet powerful consistency that paves the way to high performance and lasting success. For it shows that true greatness begins with the smallest of gestures. The myth of motivation, why discipline always wins. We are often seduced by the promise of a surge of motivation, as if it were the magical fuel capable of catapulting us straight to success. We feel inspired after a seminar, a book, or a motivational video, but soon realize that the flame dies as quickly as it ignited, leaving us hunting for another dose of enthusiasm. The truth is that motivation works like fireworks, intense and brilliant, but fleeting. Discipline, however, is the fuel that keeps the engine running day after day, even when inspiration is absent. Discipline is built upon solid patterns, regardless of how we feel at a given moment. It does not require elevated mood or perfect circumstances. It demands only a clear decision and unwavering commitment to the process. When you rely on discipline, every morning gains a defined direction, every task acquires concrete meaning, and every challenge is embraced as an opportunity for growth rather than an insurmountable obstacle. This constant alignment between intention and action creates an internal rhythm that sustains the achievement of long-term goals, surpassing the limitations of momentary willpower. In real-world scenarios, we see athletes training at ungodly hours, professionals reviewing action plans before dawn, and writers sitting at their desks even without apparent inspiration. These behaviors do not stem from unconditional love for the activity, but from the strength of a commitment hardened by repetition. Each time you choose to fulfill a task out of discipline, your brain records a discrete victory, reinforcing the conviction that you are someone who keeps their word. Over time, this internal conviction becomes so powerful that the mere thought of breaking the commitment causes discomfort, reversing the logic of desire and transforming discipline from obligation into a pleasurable expression of your integrity, replacing the incessant quest for motivation with the deliberate practice of discipline requires resilience. It is necessary to recognize that not every day will be easy, but that each day of consistency adds to a legacy of accomplishments. By realizing that discipline responds well to emotional wear and tear, because it is built on routines rather than emotions, you establish the foundations for sustainable performance. Each occasion in which you move forward, regardless of how you feel, reinforces the power of this law and proves to yourself that your determination is greater than any mood. Thus, the myth of motivation is dismantled by the truth of discipline. While inspiration is an occasional visitor capable of igniting moments of intense brilliance, discipline is the guardian of steady progress, keeping the beacon alight even on the darkest nights. Embracing this perspective means acknowledging that lasting success is born from the sum of conscious choices made repeatedly, and that true freedom lies in the autonomy to decide every day who you want to be and how you will act toward that ideal. Real story. From constant failure to true mastery, John always believed that working longer hours would be the shortcut to success. But he learned the hard way that effort without direction is like rowing aimlessly in a stormy sea. In his attempts, he woke before sunrise, reviewed goals, and devoted himself to complex tasks. Yet by nightfall, he looked at the results and saw that sales, numbers, and the sense of progress remained stagnant. With each failure, frustration accumulated, and the inner voice that once whispered, "Try harder," began to shout, "It's useless," undermining his confidence and eroding his motivation. It was at this breaking point that John decided to investigate what was truly preventing him from moving forward. Inspired by Brian Tracy's teachings, he began by identifying the most powerful limiting belief paralyzing him: the fear of not meeting his own expectations. By bringing this voice to the surface, he could consciously question it, transforming it into a reminder that every mistake carried a lesson, not a final verdict on his ability. This simple yet profound step marked the beginning of his mental reprogramming. Next, John adopted the micro-habit technique, starting with an almost invisible goal, dedicating 3 minutes daily to reviewing his customer service flow. That small action served as a trigger for a series of practical adjustments in his sales approaches and interactions with prospects. By recording each small advance, his dopamine began to flow in response to real victories, not fleeting gratifications. The self-sabotage cycle weakened as discipline crystallized into habit, creating a new internal current that pushed his efforts in the right direction. In 3 months, John's numbers soared by 150%, reflecting not only his dedication, but the conscious application of the laws now governing his mind. More than financial results, he regained confidence in himself and the clarity of purpose guiding every decision. The transformation was so significant that, looking back, he recognized that past failures were merely necessary steps to reach a higher level of competence. This story proves that when Brian Tracy's laws are applied consistently and consciously, any trajectory of failure can be rewritten into a narrative of mastery. The core of this entire journey of discovery and transformation is the awareness that success is not a stroke of luck, but the result of internal laws we can learn, understand, and deliberately apply. We revealed how ingrained beliefs sabotage our progress, how the correct interpretation of dopamine strengthens our discipline, how voluntary challenge forges character, how micro-habits build routine, and how discipline overcomes any fleeting spark of motivation. Each of these chapters is a rung on a ladder leading to true achievement, and only when you integrate each law in thought, emotion, and action does the path to success become clear and sustainable. You now possess not only theoretical explanations, but practical tools grounded in Brian Tracy's wisdom and scientific evidence. The great turning point occurs when you decide to put what you've learned into practice, identifying your sabotaging inner voice, redirecting your gratification impulses, consciously choosing constructive discomfort, taking microscopic steps with consistency, and embracing discipline as a way of life. By adopting these principles in your daily routine, you will go from spectator of your own dreams to architect of your reality, each intentional act paving your journey to high performance. Now, the decision is in your hands. Choose today one of the laws that resonated most with you and apply it over the next 7 days, observing every small step forward as a precious victory. Share your experience in the comments, both to inspire and be inspired by others who, like you, decided to take charge of their lives. Remember that mastery is not born from a single leap, but from conscious steps, repeated day after day. Your first step toward success starts now.